What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Live with Weiss, the place in which where we share information, share stories in the hopes that yourself or somebody else out there can join us on this immense journey in helping you change something, realize something, or relate to a particular story in some way, shape, or form. Of course, in this show, we talk about everything from business to careers to everything in between. And of course, if you are interested in participating in the Live with Weiss seminar where you want to share your story, send a message directly to me. Pretty easy. We can get that rolling and we can share your story with the rest of the world. But let's just be real here for just a second, everybody. One of the coolest things that we got going right now is, in this case, there was a little sneak peek. But in this case, today, I am so honored. It's insane to have such an amazing guest today to share their journey, share their story, and share information with you that's going to totally blow you out of the water. And there's a reason why this show is called Unfiltered and Unapologetic, because, listen, this conversation could just about go anywhere. And we're okay with that. And I hope you are too. So without a doubt, I'd love to introduce the one, the only, April Palmer.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. In typical me fashion, though, like panic moment this morning.
Yep.
Everybody should know Matt does this amazing tech test where it's like, does your light work? Does your whatever? And everything's super prepared. And then at about 1:30 last night, I was like, oh shit, I have to drive to Richmond and be in my office for something. So I literally got up this morning, I drove here, and I've been running from room to room, like setting up and going, is the light okay here? Is the light okay here? So if you can't see me or it looks like super weird in the background, it's because I'm a total hot mess. But I just, run with it.
This is April. I feel like this is your life. You are always on the run and you're always being free. I love it though. I mean, come on. Here's a funny thing for the audience. I was sitting here for just a moment. I was like, did anything go on? I was worried. April, I was like, what might have happened or if anything was going on? And then boom, showed up. And I was like, yes, we're ready to rock and roll. And so for those of you that know April, or are just learning to get to know April, make sure April will share her LinkedIn information here with you. You can follow her. She's an absolute wonder to chat with, stories for days. Let's talk about one thing before we dive into our topic today. That video you sent yesterday, which I want to give context to the audience. Is, when you're trying to describe something to somebody of like this show and what kind of caliber we're going to bring, April shared a video. And I'd love for you to share with the audience what that video is. That literally put me in tears for just a few seconds.
Okay. So I have like a running list of people joke with me all the time. They're like, oh, you're so positive. You're like freaky positive. Don't you have bad days? And the answer is yes. I have like a bad day every day for a little bit, right? There's always like a moment where, because my life is chaos, total and complete chaos. There's always like one moment every day where I'm like, oh fuck, right? Like this is everything's going to shit. And so I have this kind of like library of things that I watch that bring me great joy and just set me like back on the path. And some of them are like super serious, right? Like Simon Sinek's Find Your Why, Golden Circle thing. Great. But this one is one of my go-tos. It's one of the like original eHarmony videos from agent. Like, do we even know, is eHarmony even still a business or did it blockbuster? We don't know.
Right. I don't know. Audience, if you know if they're still a business, please put it in the chat.
Yeah. We don't know. Like you either get like your Blockbuster card or your Nokia flip phone, or an eHarmony account. And I will say this too, is that once a year I log into my MySpace account just so it doesn't get deactivated. Like I never use it, but I literally still have an active MySpace account just because someday I'm going to go in and rank all my friends. It's a thing. So anyway, so this video, it's an eHarmony video and it's a real video, but somebody took this software called Songify it. And there are two Songify things that I watch all the time. One is a guy introducing like starting off a NASCAR race. He's a preacher and he's like, I like to thank the Lord for my smoking hot wife. And if you haven't seen that, I will put that in the comment. It's the best ever. But then there's this woman and she's like, it starts out as real. She's like, I'm going to try my very first eHarmony video, but then it devolves real fast because she is drunk, like tequila drunk, or so, like tequila and wine mixed together. I don't even know if you can do that, if that's legal, but if it is, that's how drunk she was. And she's like, I love cats. I love every kind of cat. I would just want to hug them all, but I can't hug all of the cats. And she starts crying because Songified this and it's amazing. So go into the comment. That was a super long answer for that. Go into the comments, save it into your favorites. And when you're having a bad day, watch it because it's fucking hilarious and it will just change your life. It will just set you right back on the right path.
The moment when it's really funny for the audience. When she starts talking, she's so serious for 2 seconds. She's like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I love cats. And then the tears fall down her face immediately. I'm like, whoa, what a trigger of emotion right off the bat.
I mean, it is amazing. So those are the two Songifies that I watch. And then I always love to watch like funny commercials, but not from America. Because like we have funny commercials, but get Swedish commercials or German commercials because they have no filter. No filter. Like there's this one, I'll put this one in the chat too. Later, there's this one and it's this guy at the grocery store with his kid and the kid's screaming in German. He's like, I want candy. I want candy. And he's like shrieking and everybody's looking at this guy going like, you're the worst dad ever. And the last thing that it says, like it pops up the brand and it says condoms. It's marketing genius. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, we're gonna. So after this, we're gonna put up a contest for everybody to put up their favorite motivational / hilarious videos that they watch on a constant basis. I've got one in mind. I'm gonna share it though later with everybody. That brings me almost to tears every time I watch it in laughter. So I'll make sure to share that with everybody. It is dumb hilarious though. And we're gonna have a contest. It's gonna be hilarious.
That's gonna be amazing. And
So April, first of all, thank you for joining us. This is absolutely amazing. We've been able to chat recently. We were introduced to each other through a mutual friend Evie, who's absolutely amazing individual, biggest heart ever. And as soon as she must have saw something and it was just like, these two need to get connected. And we started chatting. Conversation just like that. So chat, whenever you just feel that connection with somebody and you're going to get in, you can have hours and hours of conversation. That's what ended up happening. Today, we only have about 45 minutes. So we'll keep the flow going and keep some things there that are super important because April really wants to share something with the audience today that's very important to her. There are a few topics that all intersect with each other. And I think for everybody here to pull away something like this, or if you've related to it in some way, shape, or form, you have to have at some point um, the thought process or the execution of things, or if you are stuck in that moment and you're trying to execute, this is the type of thing we're going to talk about. And I think, April, really to just nail this one right in the face, right, is career path. We were talking about this, and it's a huge topic in general. People never really think about what they're going to do or what they're good at. There's a few small percentile who are just like, I know I'm good at this and I'm going to do it, and that's their path forever. But some people continuously try to find this path, and I know you want to really dive into this. So tell us, why the hell we talk about career paths?
Yeah, well, I mean, so here's the thing is there are career paths, and I think there are career journeys, and then there may be like career shit shows, right? And that might be a little bit more of where I am. It's definitely a journey. It's an adventure. It's a career adventure, actually.
I love that.
I'm going to call it. I just made that up, so I'm feeling really brilliant right now.
And Mark it. T-shirts made. T-shirts made.
That'll be my next business because I don't have enough. So the reason that I think this topic is really important for me is I can distinctly remember as a kid, we would be in like elementary school and guest speakers would come in, they'd go around, they'd be like, what does everybody want to be when they grow up? And people were like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a whatever. And I was like, I want to be an astronaut, environmental lawyer, spy, foster mom to 80 cats, and pedicurist. And they'd be like, you can't be all of those things. You have to pick one. And I literally remember being in elementary school and feeling sick to my stomach about that. I was like, not only was it scary for me to think, and like, come on, y'all, like what kind of special brand of asshole are you to tell an 8-year-old that they have to pick a career path like now and stick with it? This is why we have so many people with college debt and like no place to go with it. I could go on with that forever, but like I literally felt sick to my stomach, not because I couldn't pick a career, but because I couldn't pick a career, I felt like I was broken. I was like, what is wrong with me? And I thought that for years. And so I would go through these phases of my life where I was always like, what do I want to be when I grow up? I have to pick something. I need to settle on something. And because I couldn't envision doing something for the rest of my life, I didn't think the rest of the world was broken. I really thought that I was broken. And I tried to put myself in a box that just didn't fit who I am, my personality at all. And anybody will know it's like wearing a pair of shoes that are 2 sizes too small. Like you get blisters and it's really fucking uncomfortable and you can't go where you're going because you can't walk. And that's kind of where I felt like I was. And so like my background, I went to college in Germany. I came back over to the United States. I worked as a 911 operator while I was getting my phlebotomy certification. I worked as a phlebotomist while I was getting my medical assistant degree. I worked as a medical assistant while I was getting my healthcare administrator. So I went all through healthcare, right? And then all of a sudden I got an opportunity to go into packaging equipment and logistics sales. And I did it. Like there's no connection at all.
No correlation whatsoever.
Why would you do that? It's stupid. You've got this great career path. But the further I got into healthcare, the more I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. In fact, I don't want to do anything for the rest of my life. I can't even sit through a whole fucking movie, right? Oh no. Right? Like I just want to move. I want to do things. I've lived in 17 cities. I've lived around the world. Like this is my thing. So I left to go packaging equipment. When I left packaging equipment, I went into business banking, and then I became an HR consultant, and then I became a finance consultant with American Express for the largest privately owned businesses everywhere. And then I left to become a consultant for startups because I had started my own company and all these things. And so I'm 39 years old. I have taken probably the biggest step that I have towards becoming being really true to myself, which was leaving American Express, hang out my own shingle. Like people are like, what is your consultancy? And I'm like, I unfuck startup business plans so that they can raise money. What does that mean? Like, that's nothing, but it's very close to and so I'm 39 years old. I'm driving up every single week to Philadelphia for a client. It was like 5 hours from Richmond, and you can only listen to so many like mixtapes, like Spotify of, Eminem and Willie Nelson, because that's my jam as I like mix those things together. So I started listening to TED Talks, and you can like listen to them with Weiss still on and whatever. And I'm driving through DC. It's 4 something in the morning. The sun is just starting to come up. And this woman, her name's Emily Wapnick, her voice comes through, and she said, I always felt like I was a serial failure, but it turns out I'm just a multi-potentialite. I have so much potential in so many areas. And I will tell, like, I get choked up telling this every time, because I pulled off on the side of the road and I just started crying. I was like, oh my God, I'm not broken. Like, there are other people like me out there. And as she talked, and I've listened to this podcast, I've listened to it so many times, because what started to happen for me is I realized that my inability to commit to one career path and one industry, and my desire to know everything about everything. I'm like that. What's that movie, Short Circuit, with the little robot? I'm like, and that's who I am. And like, that's not broken. It's a superpower.
Wow.
And my superpower became, and like I really, really refined it. My superpower is I have so much knowledge about so many different things that I can connect in interesting and unexpected ways, that I can manipulate probability of success. And that's actually what I do. And that's fucking amazing. How many times have I said fucking? Am I allowed to say it that many times?
I got a counter that's going right now. You're doing well. You're within the confines of whatever. I don't even know if there's any sort of restrictions. If there are, those sites can fuck off. Yeah. So I find this amazing, because the very beginning of the story is it's implanting it in your brain to say you have one choice, and that one choice is it, and that's it. That's all you get at 8 years old. So imagine that, like, at your 8 years old, so you only have one choice in life to choose, and you choose that path, and you take that path, and that's the path you're going to take forever. Imagine, like, people out there that are probably watching this are just like, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm stuck, and they're stuck, and they hate the path they chose. And it's been ingrained for so long, that repetition.
Know that they have an option, right? Like, nobody ever told you have an option to not do that.
Right. It's like going to college. Like, people go to college, and I'll say like 10% of people go to college know exactly why they're going, but the 90 percentile are just going there to survive, to figure out what life is actually like. They're just like, wait, I have no idea like what I'm doing. I might get a taste of computer sciences. It's like, oh, I'm a terrible developer. I should definitely not do this. Right. Or communications, and you're just like, whoa, I love radio. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm taking a biology course. I am not a botanist whatsoever. Right. I don't know how. I zero green thumb. And you start to learn these little things, but like, it's like a precursor, but you don't think about it that way, and you're just so ingrained. And I love how I was thinking about this when you talked about having multiple abilities to look at, being an expert in multiple areas, right? And it's some people would refer to that as the term, the jack of all trades, the master of none. And I call bullshit. I call big bullshit on that.
I'm really, really good at the shit that I know. I'm way better than other people are at the shit that I know. And you know why? Because I know so much other shit. Like, that's it.
I think what's important there, though, is that you're able to make those connections. And that's so cool. Like, just from the audience perspective, you can take I think about it this way. You could take a recipe and a business and something else, a third other item, and be like, okay, I totally know how to make this business successful. It's almost like playing Mad Libs and making Mad Libs a successful game in a way. And I think it's such a cool TED Talk. We got to share that in the chat without a doubt, because there's probably a lot of people out there that know a whole bunch of shit I don't know what your level is of knowledge. You got to rate yourself. But
Yeah.
if you're an expert, it's one thing. But if you just kind of know stuff, it may not be as impactful, but it doesn't mean it's not necessarily a non-asset piece. It's amazing that way.
Right. It's so fascinating. There's also a book. It's called Range by Michael Epstein. So we can put that. Like, are you taking note all the shit that I'm supposed to put in the chat? Because I won't remember.
Good thing that this is recorded and I can take all of it and pull it immediately.
Somebody else has to remind me. That's the thing. But the book Range by Michael Epstein is really great too. That was recommended to me by Casey Jones, who is like one of the, in my mind, one of the people who inspires me most to be my most authentic self and to embrace that kind of like chaotic craziness of my brain and say, this is actually amazing. So if you don't follow her on LinkedIn, she's fire. And she does like private coaching class. Like I'm in one of her private coaching classes, and she's not afraid to tell you, like, don't be an idiot, right? Like, do the thing, don't be afraid. And so she's awesome.
Oh, I love that. I've got two things from the messages here I want to share that relate to our subject here. Nathan dropped a few pieces here. Oh, there it is. Yes. So Nathan dropped two things I want to share without a doubt. The very first thing Nathan said, he's 36, he's got his MBA, he still can't answer that question, which, Nathan, you're not alone. That's the most important thing. Getting your MBA, you focused on something. And you're hyper focused, and it goes to your next question, which is there, and then I'll let April jump in, which is, I think I'm of myself as not an expert of anything, but I'm above average of most things.
Yeah.
And there's two things there that I'll say, and then I'll let April jump in because I know there's that connection already there, which is one thing's for sure. Dedication to an MBA is a lot, and you probably know more than even more than the average person. You're probably an expert in a particular field. It's like trying to hone in on what that expertise is. Now, as it for average of most things, now you take that expertise and you take the things that you may not be super expert at, and you start to infuse it together. You can create some really cool, obscure ideas that think outside the box that scare the fuck out of people, scare the fuck out of businesses. Like, what are you talking about? You want me to put a unicorn on my front door? Like, why? And it's like, because this is going to raise your walk-in percentage by 25%. How's that sound? So keep on utilizing this. April, go for it.
Okay. So I have so many thoughts on this because first of all, like, if y'all don't know Nathan, like, know him. He's amazing. He just started his own consulting business to help build leaders within organizations. And that I got a chance to like go through his course, and it is fucking brilliant. So if you want somebody who is amazing, I'm all about like my friends. I know the best people, y'all. So if you know me, you'll know like maybe I'm not the best, but I literally know the best people at all the things. And so, but the other thing I love, and Matt, you started to talk about this, and we talked about this a little bit the other day too, is when I think of somebody who has an MBA, and people who don't have higher level education, but have this super cool ability to know how to learn things, right? Like, I've never understood. I've got kids. I've got two 19-year-olds and a 15-year-old, and like they're in school and their teachers always be like, no computers, no whatever. And I'm like, listen, when you're at work, like there's never been a moment in my life where my boss has said to me, hey, I need to answer this question. And by the way, you can't use any outside resources to give it to me. You just need to, like, from your brain, come up with a really good, solid solution that's grounded in fact. Like, that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like, learn how to Google, learn how to learn. And so I think for me, like, that's something that Nathan does really, really amazingly well as people who are generalists, is you know how to learn a thing. And so, like, we always kind of laugh because one of my largest client, my actual largest client right now, is in the automotive industry. And when I started working with them 18 months ago, the joke has always been, I didn't know my chassis from my assy. And when I say that, like, I literally didn't know. I had bought a car like 15 years before, new from a dealership. And when I say that, it was actually like my future ex-husband bought it. Like, it had nothing to do with it. I knew nothing about it. But Nathan says I've used Google and YouTube more than half my master's classes. Yeah, like that's the thing, right? And so, but I think there's this, what we don't teach people is how to be curious and how to be hungry to learn, and then how to actually do it. So when I started with the automotive industry, Clubhouse was a relatively new thing.
Wow.
And so I got on Clubhouse. It's weirdly really popular with the automotive industry. And I would put it on my phone, and then I would turn on Drift, and I would record everything that everybody was saying. And then I would upload it into otter.ai and transcribe it. And then I would put it in a Word document, and I would go through and I would pull out nuggets of wisdom of things that I didn't even know what they meant. Right. And so I would pull them out and I would put them in a document, and then I would go into a sales call, and I would literally like have my Zoom on, and I'd have my phone with that document, and I would put it on my screen. It's upside down. You don't care. I would put it, like lean it against my screen, and I would scroll up through that document and pick out I like plagiarize lines from people to ask questions. And then people would give me answers, and all of a sudden those answers would like trigger something. And my brain would be like, oh, I now understand the question I just asked that person. I didn't understand it before I asked the question. That's how I've learned. And now I'm doing speaking engagements in the automotive industry, and, you know, like mentoring people in the industry 18 months. And I'm not an expert, but I'm really fucking smart about it. And so like, that's how you learn. And I think that's how people like Nathan and people like you, Matt, and like the people I love to surround myself with, that's how they operate, because it's a natural curiosity about the world. And then also this ability to connect dichotomous information in really interesting ways.
So first of all, I had no idea that was your learning path. That is, so for everyone watching, like I think one thing that's very important, and you mentioned like your children as examples, like put away your laptops, but it's like, why? Because every single person out there, no matter what, and this is like part of what I've done for an extraordinary amount of time, is actually understood the learning development world from an adult perspective. And it's so amazing to watch people figure out how they learn. Sometimes it takes you forever to figure it out, but your path is actually like super complex just from a knowledge perspective. You go in.
Yeah, I was like, it's so easy.
It's so complex. It's so complex, but I love it because that's how you do it. It's almost like you're reading it, you're highlighting it. You actually have to take the audio, transcribe, then take that transcription and turn it to something which really is just the reading piece, highlighting, understanding. And then I love this. So this is really cool. And I've actually never, it's a confidence level, is like test it out. Right? Is it good? To float it out. Is it going to work or not? Imagine asking a question. I'm sure you have. And it's like, that totally bombed. They're just like, they answer the question like, I have no idea what you're talking about now.
Yeah. I put something out the other day. Like, we're doing this thing called Challenge Network, and we'll get into Challenge Networks if we have time, because they're my current obsession. I just love them. Another TED Talk moment. Adam Grant, like brilliant guy. Totally has changed the way I'm interacting with people. But I put out something. We're doing a Challenge Network. Okay, I'm just going to talk. Can I talk about Challenge Network? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's another way that I learn. And I think that this is really, really important. And so I put this, I've started doing these things. They're called Challenge Networks. If you don't know what a Challenge Network is, what it is basically people within your network who will let you talk through an idea or a service or a product or something. And then they love you so much and they're so invested in your success that they will do what most people will not do, which is give you candid feedback and help you poke holes and call out your tunnel vision and challenge your assumptions and all these things, not because they want you to not succeed, but because if you don't know those things, if you can't identify them, you have a much lower likelihood of success. And so I call people in my Challenge Network my best friends, sometimes. Call people who will take an idea if you throw an idea at them and they're like, that's amazing. Yeah, you can totally do that. I don't see any problems with that. Like no hurdles, no whatever. Because guess what? Like everything has a hurdle. Nothing is easy. Nothing is straightforward. It's just, you just have to grind it out, right? And so I call it people who won't challenge you grin fuckers. Because they'll just sit there and they're like, oh yeah, super good. You're going to be amazing. I think you're going to be a millionaire. And you're like, no, like care about my success and my time and my energy enough to tell me like, I think you're a fucking idiot, right? Like, or you haven't researched that enough, or it's going to like, how are you going to find the money for it? Or those types of things. And so anyway, I put this thing out because I facilitate challenge networks for my students at VCU, for other businesses, and as well as for Hop Drive, which is my largest client. And so we're doing this one, and somebody sent me a note and they were like, hey, it was Russ Man, he's amazing, in the automotive industry. And he was hey, why did you put this? And I was like, because I thought it meant this. He was like, like Inigo Montoya, right? He was like, I do not think that word means what you think it means. And I was like, really? And he was like, why would you do that? And I was like, because I'm drunk and I just posted this on LinkedIn and I thought that it meant this thing. Like, how much do I love Ross that everybody, he's the only one. He's the only one. Thousands of people have seen this. 75 people are coming to the event. And Russ is the only one who sent me a note and was like, you're dumb. Like, you sound dumb saying this and you need to change it. Right? Like, Russ, I love you. You're amazing. You're
like, the shout out to Russ. Yes.
Yeah. See, that's a real friend.
I think the Challenge Network, if you all haven't, if you want to learn more information, shoot a message to April. It's really cool. It's what you're doing for your students. I was able to participate the other day. I won't go into the details, but it's amazing to watch a younger audience, especially taking feedback. And in my case, I'm an observer as well. Like, come on, I do interviews and all that stuff, and just watching their facial expressions and watching them take notes and being like, oh, like, are they going to take the feedback back? How are they going to react to it? Because a lot of times for everybody here, and even myself, and I know for you, April, it's like you get feedback and let's say it's candid. Your initial reaction is like, fuck you. I'm right. But you have to like suppress that just a little bit and just be like, wait a second, this person probably has great intentions. Not everybody has great intentions. There's toxic people out there, which you can block and you know who they are. But the people that
you want to block them sometimes, like I hear this a lot. You know who the most toxic people are when you have an idea, and like the people you should not put in your challenge network, even if they're the most supportive people in your life, your parents, your siblings.
Are you ready for this?
Life partner.
Are you ready for this? My father just jumped into the chat and dropped censored LOL. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even know how to use LinkedIn, but he's in here and I love his support. But most of the time I'm like, I'm doing my own thing. Thank you.
I'll convert you, Richard. Totally. Wait, he doesn't have a different nickname, does he?
Are you talking about Dick?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Old days. Now he's just.
Oh yeah. I mean, but it's so true. Like, you need to know when you're building your challenge network, just like when you're building your personal board of advisors or your business board of advisors. But first of all, if y'all don't have a personal board of advisors, like, what the fuck are you doing? Who are you going to say, should I go get my MBA? Should I take this job? Should I become a vegan? Does CrossFit seem like a good choice for me?
What would you say would be like for you? What's like a good characteristic of an advisor? Like, if you could choose the top two, what would be those characteristics? Because I think it's important for everybody here to go to that person or go to those people who can help you take that mindset and kind of level set it.
I mean, I think it's different for everybody. And like, I hate to be super, super trite because I've actually literally never read this book and I'm getting ready to reference it as a source of fact, right? But I understand the concept, which is I have love languages and everybody does, right? I don't need to read the book to know what they think my love language is. I know what my love language is. What they like, the way that they say it is words of affirmation. I love a spotlight. I love a microphone, and I love people to tell me, like, you are brilliant. You are beautiful. Your shoes are fucking fire. And they usually are, by the way. Like, that's my thing, is I love shoes. And the other thing that I cannot have within my network is somebody who always leads with no. That's a problem for me. So we did, I know, Nathan, you're amazing. So when my kids were little, I piloted this thing and it's kind of kept on, and it's not quite as structured as it used to be, but I decided to become a yes parent.
Ooh.
And so no matter what they asked me, the answer was yes. Now it could be yes and, or yes but, right? But so they would say like, can I have cupcakes for breakfast? And I would say yes. When you're 18, you can have cupcakes for breakfast every day, because literally nobody monitors that when you're an adult, right? My job is to make sure that you have a healthy body to complement your healthy mind. But when you're 18, you're in charge of yourself and you can eat cupcakes for breakfast every day. My daughter would be like, can I kill my sibling? And I'd be like, yes, write a story about it. Do a stop animation thing about it. Like, yes, absolutely you can in fiction, not in real life. And that's how I approach everything or I try to, right? Like I can't say an absolute, but if somebody comes to me and says, do you think this is a great business idea? I say, yes, I think it's an amazing idea. Now let's dig in to see if it's a viable idea. That's different, right? And so my personal board of advisors cannot be people who start with no and then want to be convinced that I'm right. That just pisses me off. So other people like to have somebody who starts with no. They start like more on kind of the conservative end, and then they want to talk through until they convince themselves the opposite way, right? That they've convinced both of them and then they think it's a good idea. So it's different, right? But I think you have to figure that out for yourself.
I think that is a very cool way of approaching things. Very different, but it's like taking no and turning it into like, it's okay, but we still need to look at other things.
Yeah.
Like, great. I love the breakdown. It is a great idea, but is it I think you used the term viable idea. Now let's actually take a look at that.
Right.
And let's break that down. Chop. But in order to ensure that, let's say you want to become an advisor, or you want to go to an advisor and you want to share your ideas with people, there's a lot of things that you need to include in yourself. And I think one of those is that expertise that we were talking about earlier, right? So you have to, it's okay to be an expert in multiple things. We learned that today. It's totally fine. And I love the infusion of ideas to really go outside the box with different things that can blow other businesses' thought processes out of the water, right? And you'll probably upset a few people, and you're going to get a lot of negative connotation. And that's okay. It means you're invoking thought, in my opinion, and that is totally fine. But you got to become an expert. You gotta have credibility behind it. And I think we were talking yesterday, April. I'd love for you to really, hit this one, which is like, you are an expert in multiple areas, and you take that fast track, and then you take those ideas, infuse them, and you're able to consult in a way where you can see what they're seeing and even see outside of what they're seeing. So how does somebody like myself, as an example? Listen, I'm very similar in a way, but like my expertise level may working on it.
Literally like separated at birth. So don't sell yourself short on this one. I know. But
like, how does someone like myself or someone in the audience find that expertise? Because you've gone from literally healthcare to selling packaging to American Express. So how do you be
finance, right?
But you're an expert in these fields and you're seeing multiple things. Like, how do you get there?
Okay. So it looks a lot like a plate of spaghetti, right? Like everything is kind of intertwined. There's not like a straight path. Like they always say like there's a straight path or like whatever, but it's actually like a heap of fucking noodles, right? With like obstacles and stuff. But I think for me, it's like I have a word that is really, really important to me, and it's gumption. And a lot of people think like, what is that? They don't really know what it is. For me, and like my personal definition of gumption is you look at something, whether it's a problem to be solved or an idea to be had or something, and you think, I'm going to persevere and I'm going to do it in kind of creative ways outside the box. I'm going to ask everyone things. I'm just going to like test the water at the feet. I'm going to jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down. I'm just going to figure it out. Like that to me is gumption. I'm just going to figure it out. And then you don't limit yourself to, I think I can figure it out if I have these resources. And so like I ask everyone, I literally ask everyone. I call people and get them on the phone who should never take my calls. And I call them, I'm like, hey, I had an idea. And I know that you know this, and I'm wondering, can you just tell me if I'm crazy? People will tell you, right? Like people who do not, they shouldn't have time for you when you ask them for their thought leadership and you do it in such a genuine way. You're not trying to sell them something. You're not trying to get them to invest in something. You're just saying, I need input. I need information. And you're not afraid to do it. It's like there's not an obstacle that will get in your way. That being said, one of the things, like one of my biggest pet peeves, besides people who mispronounce jewelry, because that's like, what?
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. Is now I forgot what my other pet peeve was.
Am I saying it right? Jewelry. Oh no!
Right?
This is gonna mess me up all day.
We're gonna have it. Yeah, we're at jewelry.
Jewelry.
It's a jewel. No, like it has a jewel on it, right?
Jewelry. Oh. All right, we're stopping that immediately. I'm continuously like my face is getting redder. I internally my heart rate has gone up. I'm sweating to death. I'm like, I'm saying this fucking word wrong. I appreciate it.
It's a thing. It might be personal preference, but it's a thing. I like hear it in my head and it's like nails on a chalkboard. So the other thing that is a pet peeve of mine is when people will say, like, tell me I can't and I'll prove you wrong, right? Tell me no and I'll whatever. Because I will tell you, like, there are a few things that can stop me from doing the things that I want to do. But I think you can't, if you get so tunnel vision on getting to what you think is the right answer or what you think is the goal, you miss opportunities on the way. So I see people who are like, they want to start a business and they're like, this is the business. And I don't care what advice I get. I don't care like what scientific facts somebody puts in front of me, whatever. This is the business and I'm never straying from that. And that to me is a recipe for disaster, right? It's absolutely, that's not wanting to take an input and doing those things. That's wanting to win rather than be right. And I think that that's actually ends up being a losing combination. So that's one of those things. And I don't exactly know how it ties into this, but for me, when I think of like gumption and those types of things, it's not just driving towards a goal at like all costs. It's constantly taking in the feedback that you're getting and saying, I'm going to change, I'm going to shift, I'm going to iterate, I'm going to whatever. To your mission can stay the same, but the outcome can be different. And if you're open to that, then I think you'll be really, really successful. If you surround yourself with a board of advisors who can help you get there, then like slam dunk, you're fucking going for it. It's awesome.
Two things. What's the golden number for advisors, you think?
Okay, so I have 7.
Okay.
But that might be a lot. I just like people.
that it's a lot of people to get information from, but I'm sure it's a diverse portfolio of knowledge.
It is. I would say like 4 to 5, right? I think if you have 4 to 5 different perspectives, and also remember, like not all advice is good advice, right? But all advice should be listened to and then thought about with logic and reasoning, bounced off of other people, and then you kind of make a decision. But I would say like 4 or 5.
Okay. And then the second thing I want to make a point of with, the idea of openness, what's really important as you're obtaining information, becoming an expert in a field, to tie it all in is the ability to pivot and adjust. That if you take a look at my show and you look at the very first episode and then you look at it today, it is night and day. I was in a garage my first day. It was in a garage. I had this white blanket because the sun was beaming in. It was 100 degrees in the garage because it was the only quiet place I had, because in the morning it was just a ruckus, and like it was awful. It was ugly. And the first episode I ever did was talking about tattoos in the workplace. That because I have a 3/4 sleeve on my arm, and it's like, what does that mean? But when I look at it today,
what my next tattoo is going to be. Maybe not my next. I think my next tattoo might actually be a fuck it bucket, because that's really important to me. But then I keep thinking I'm gonna get "you're on mute" #2020, right? I think
always holding it up.
Just because people will be like, how many times have we said that? And like, maybe I won't have to use it next year that much, right? But it kind of feels like that was the embodiment of 2020 for me, was "you're on mute."
And it's what a great conversational piece. You know what I mean? It's I know exactly what you're talking about. Every meeting you sit there and Joey gets on the call and he's muted and he's talking for 5 minutes and everyone's yelling at him. I 100% approve of that one. And you got to like make it just, if you do it backwards so that you can do it in meetings. Yeah. So that way.
The point is, I just want it because I don't need to see it. Like, I know I'm on mute. I just forgot to take it off. But then the other one, I would like to get a little tiny fuck it bucket right here, just because it's a reminder, right? Like, some things you get scared, fear, right? Like, we have so many feelings about fear and risk and failure and all those things. And sometimes to do the thing, you just have to like toss your fear and like your fear of failure and all those things right in the fuck it bucket and just do it.
Yeah.
That's I think the thought I'm going to leave everybody on is actually find a fuck it bucket. It's a really, really important tool.
In the comments, let us know what your fuck it bucket is. And I know this is unfiltered and unapologetic, but I'd be interested to see what the actual comments are and how outrageous it becomes, because everyone's got their own, and it's so important. That fear thing. Listen, I failed plenty of times, and I'm not afraid to say it. But I will tell you this: you get a lot of advice out there about fear. And how to conquer fear. What I can give from an advice perspective, from a fear of starting your own business, a fear of watching your business fail, and all that stuff, is that the world's going to be okay afterwards. It's not the end of the world. You recover, or something great comes out of it. Whether if you're trying to learn something new, like I was talking about, my show now is using OBS in some way, shape, or form, and it feels better. Right. I took the risk. I was like, I don't know if it's going to work or not. And I was fearful of learning an open source technology. And now it works. It's like, it's okay, because there's always going to be a result. But no matter what, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, literally the worst thing that can happen is that you learn something. Like, that's not bad. Like, wait. Do we have to, like, is it cut off now? Do we have to cut it off? Because I want to tell you a fuck it bucket story.
You can, if we have exactly 12 minutes of timing left.
All right. Because you said 45 minutes, and I think maybe you just did that to like trick me.
Yeah, absolutely.
To make me talk fast.
That's how I control the conversation. Right?
Okay, perfect. That's how I will give you all the control. Okay, so a number of years ago, I just started a new job. It was a sales job. And all of every single sales job I've ever held, interestingly, because this really, really fits with me, is it's selling a product or service that goes into multiple different industries. And so that's pretty cool for me, because I can go from like a rug manufacturer to like a virtual deposition attorney's office. And so that's like, I've always really loved that. But anyway, so I got the sales job, and my very first day on the job, my manager says to me, all right, you've got two options. One is you can watch all of these compliance videos. It'll probably take you like 4 hours or whatever, and you have to watch them no matter what, right? Or like, you kind of know what we do. Why you could also just like pick up the phone and see if you could set a couple of appointments and like see if you can get comfortable with the talk track. So obviously I picked the compliance videos. Absolutely not. I'm not sure I ever actually watched them, which is kind of funny. But like, so I was like, great, I'll pick up the phone. So I did, first of all, the worst thing that you can ever do is pick up the phone when you're calling somebody and trying to build a relationship with them and like not even Google their fucking business, which is exactly what I did. And second of all, I think in my personal opinion, the second worst thing that you can do is cold call somebody and just ask them for an appointment without trying to build any type of relationship. And so
worst sales move ever.
Right. Yeah. So I did both of them, right? I picked up the phone, I called this number, and the CEO of this massive company,
massive,
they were huge, answers fucking phone. Like, who does that? And so I thought I'd get like a gatekeeper or a voicemail or something. And so I panicked. And I was like, I actually did a video about this not too long ago. I was like, hi, my name is April. I'm selling this thing. And I don't know that you have this problem, but I'm pretty sure that you do. And I can solve it for you. And he was like, you know what? I have people to take care of that. Like, I don't need it. Thanks so much for calling. And he hung up. And like, he was super nice about it. Right. Which is awesome. He's a stand-up gentleman. And I hung up the phone and I was like, worst sales call ever. Like, I just panicked because I didn't expect him to answer the phone. And so I did what any self-respecting fuck it bucket believer in did. And I like tossed my fear in there and I picked up the phone and I called back, and damned if he didn't answer a second time.
Wow.
I said to him, I was like, hey, today is my first day on the job. I didn't expect you to pick up. I didn't say any of the things that I wanted to say. And will you give me a mulligan? And he just started laughing hysterically. He's like, that's the funniest fucking sales call I've ever got. In fact, at one point I was like, maybe I should start doing that on purpose, right? Like, it was so successful. So we started laughing. We started talking, nothing really about business. And at the end of it, he was like, oh, you said that you're interested in this. I'll connect you with the right person. And he connected me with the right person. And I ended up closing that account like 6 months later. But this is like the fuck it bucket moment, right? Like, I could have hung up the phone and I could have been like, man, I'm so bad at this and I'm never going to be good at it and whatever. But what's the worst thing that could have happened? He could have not answered the phone. He could have picked up the phone and been like, don't fucking call me again. I'm going to take out a restraining order on you.
Right.
He's going to hang up. He doesn't even know my last name, right? Like, how's he going to do? Literally the worst thing that he could do is say no. That's okay. Like, that doesn't hurt me. That's like water off a duck's back. And I know more than probably anybody else. Like, besides that, that's a lie. I do not hear no more than SDRs and AEs and BDC. I promise you, I do not hear no that many times. But like, that's the moment, right? That's the moment where you have to go, I'm just doing it. I'm just going to put myself out there. I'm just going to ask. And so many times, if you toss the fear in the fuck bucket and you just do the thing, great things happen.
What a killer piece of sales advice, by the way. If you just totally foobar to call, and most sellers would be like, well, that one's gone. I'll call them next year. Right. I love the term mulligan. What a give me a mulligan. And as soon as you said that, my thought was I would be dying laughing. I'm like, I got to give this person a shot. Like, this is really great. Let's hear what they got to say. Let's get into, I love sales calls in general, like coming to me too, because I like to just like hear how it works. Mm-hmm. That second call, because I would have seen it and I would have been like, oh, this person's calling back. Right. Let's give them one more. Let's just see what they got to say. I'm just genuinely curious. What did they miss? And it's just, you cleared the slate and you made it actually relatable. Because that person's probably gotten millions of sales calls and you probably made yourself more unique than anybody else.
Well, I did. Like, we still know each other, right? Like, that's a thing.
That's great.
You know who's brilliant at that? If you don't follow them on LinkedIn, Josh Braun.
Josh Braun?
Braun. He is amazing. He has a course. I'm addicted to it. He does things like, he advises, you make a sales call and you pick up the phone. You're like, hi, this is April. Just going to throw it out there. This is a cold call. What? Like, you've completely diffused the negative situation there. You're calling it out. You're like, this is a cold call. I'm a cold caller. Like, I know I'm an asshole. I know I'm taking up your time, but are you doing that? Like, he's amazing. So follow him as well on LinkedIn, because he and Katie Dorsey like blow my mind from a sales perspective every day.
So good story to end it on. Great pieces of advice. April, as tradition in this show, the very last thing we always like to do is give your final pitch, like kind of letting everybody know what's going on, where you want people to go to find you, what you're doing, and kind of like Hot Ones, right? It's like what's going on. So this is your moment to shine and take it on and talk to the audience.
Oh my God, I just panicked. Like full panic. What? Matt, you didn't tell me about this. Okay, seriously. So I'm April Palmer. You can find me on LinkedIn. I've got my pronouns behind me, pretty easy to find. I post a lot of not really interesting stuff, but I do love humor. And so maybe you'll find it interesting. If you need a consultant to help you unfuck your startup business plan and take you from $0 in revenue to Series A revenue, that is what I do. It's what I absolutely love. But at the moment, the two other things I'm working on is I do a weekly live show on Fridays called FuckUp Fridays, where we celebrate professional failure. So if you have an interest in doing that, send me a DM, slide right into my DMs there. And then the other amazing project I'm working on for all of you guys in the automotive industry, because Matt, I know you're super connected there, is we are slaying the game when it comes to finding inventory, acquiring inventory, leveraging your F&I reinsurance products, and surprising and delighting your customers by creating raving fans. So if you're in the automotive industry, I've got some shit for you to know about. I also know people I can connect you with, which is awesome. And I love to give advice and talk to people and just get to know everyone because I get to learn something from everyone. So come be my friend and I will be your friend back. It'll be amazing.
Amazing. Good up to pitch. April, thank you for jumping on the show today. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, when you think about it, I knew this conversation was going to go whatever direction it needed to. And I'm super stoked. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh my gosh. I love you so much. I love what you're doing. I love the message that you're putting out there. You're just a bright, shining light in the world. And so thank you for being so amazing and for being so generous with your energy to all of us. We love you.
Thank you so much. And for everybody watching, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the comments. If you have any questions, message myself, message April, but we will catch you later.
Yes.